Hi everyone! So for today's video, I'm basically just going to do a bunch of stuff in the garden that needs to get done. So I actually haven't done anything in the garden for 5 days, which for me is a long time to go without any sort of garden tasks. Usually I'm out here in the morning and in the evening, you know, just checking in on things, harvesting what's ready to harvest. Usually not a ton of stuff, so when I put that off for a few days though, the list definitely gets longer. So we were out of town for a little bit and then it basically rained for a few days. So now I need to go do all of the things that I haven't been doing. So let me take you around. It actually doesn't look that bad when you're just looking at it, but there's definitely things that I need to do. So let me go show you what that includes. One of the things I need to deal with is definitely budworms on my petunias. So I actually haven't had much of an issue this year so far. I think because there's been so many wasps in my garden, they've been taking care of the caterpillars for me. But even though there's still flowers here, usually these are covered with at least 4 times as many flowers as you're seeing. So I know budworms are the cause because I've seen a couple. So what I need to do is I'm going to go through and hand pick any that I see. I'm probably going to do this last because this might take the longest and you can see some more at night as well. But then I'm going to spray with some BT and then apply a bloom boosting fertilizer. So usually I'm applying fertilizer out here once a week. I don't do everything once a week, but I definitely do my flowers once a week. And because it was raining, they have not gotten their weekly application yet. So this is on my list. But again, probably not the first thing I'm going to do. I'm actually just seeing if I can spot any budworms or just all of the damage they've been doing. If you don't know what budworms are, basically they do this to your flowers. What I am going to do first is probably harvest what needs to be harvested. In fact, I've probably let some strawberries and tomatoes sit on the plant for too long. So I'm going to harvest. I need to, well, 2 things with flowers. I need to deadhead the flowers that are too far gone to look good in a vase, and then I need to pick the flowers that are ready for vases. So that includes zinnias here and here. That includes the asters, zinnias here as well. I'm not actually picking my sunflowers for vases. I'm leaving those with the heads on to form seeds. And I'm going to do something fun with those for fall crops, I think, pretty soon here. I need to harvest Aronia berries, tomatoes, eggplants, and peppers as well. Now, I made a whole video showing how I prune this tomato plant. And then I maybe pruned one more time after that and stopped pruning for no real reason, but it's taking over. You can see here it's going into my zinnias. Not as bad on this side, but it is starting to grow around the back, which obviously makes that difficult to get to the tomatoes. So I might do some pruning on this a little bit today. It is also after 7 already, so we're gonna see how much time I have available. Ooh, also, this little weird bug. I don't know if you can even really see that in the light, but I've seen a few of these. I don't know what it is. So let me know if you do. Now on this side, actually doesn't look as bad as I thought, but there are still branches going behind and through the zinnias. You can see some tomatoes down there. So this plant, well, there's 2 plants in here, but they are definitely taking over. Also have some, well, first let me show off this dahlia. I need to deadhead some of these, but there are at least 10 blooms on here, not including the ones that are forming, but the ones that are in full bloom. This is the Otto's Thrill, and it has put out the most beautiful blooms all season long. So I definitely recommend this variety here. Again, it's Otto's Thrill. One thing I wanted to show with the dahlias over here that I actually did do is, so they were starting to tip over because the support poles that I had were maybe only like this tall. So as they got taller and heavier, they started to tip. So I've kind of basically twined everything together. I have just a little bit of debris I need to clean up. I've been trying to shove these pots in here to keep it upright, but I don't know if I actually need these. Nope, anymore. now that I twined it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take these out right now. So here's what the dahlias look like over here. And again, the Autos Thrill is just absolutely covered. And then here are my supplies. I have a bucket with a little bit of water in it for any of the flowers that I'm going to bring inside. I have one basket for harvesting. This I got from a thrift shop and I really like it. And then I have another basket for harvesting. Oh, and my gloves and pruners. So let's go ahead now and I will do as much work as I can before the sun comes down. It's almost 8 o'clock and I am nowhere near done, but it's about to get too dark where you won't be able to see anything. So let me show you what I have so far, and then I guess we will pick this up tomorrow. Alright, here's what we're looking like. So as far as vegetables, I was able to harvest, well, fruit and veg, because there's some strawberries and Aronia berries in here as well. I think that I'm pretty good on, so I can take these inside down to the kitchen. I've not nearly picked as many flowers as I wanted to, and I also am realizing I need a much better type of bucket to hold the flowers in. Then here I have some straw flowers I'm going to hang to dry. These are all flowers I've deadheaded. I know these still look good from the front, but all the petals are brown on the back. Garden waste here that I'm going to compost. More garden waste, and then 2 tomato branches I broke off. So if you want to not break your tomato branches, it's probably better to keep them as well groomed and pruned as you can so they don't become a tangled mess. But I'm okay with losing a few branches because there's a ton there. Other things I'm going to do tonight is look for the budworms and spray. I think that's everything after it gets dark. And then, like I said, we will pick up again tomorrow. It is the next day and I'm ready to start picking up on the tasks that I wasn't able to complete yesterday. I did end up spraying my petunias, but I need to fertilize them, so I'll do that a little bit later. I'm starting my tasks though on the back deck. There's not a ton I have to do back here, but I do need to deadhead some flowers, cut some flowers, harvest a few of the spicy peppers that I have back here. And I'm starting here because this is where the shade is, and then we'll continue on back in the front kind of main garden area. And then I'll show you everything that I managed to gather and how the garden looks. Although I feel like this is going to be one of those times where I've spent hours working in the garden and it still looks the exact same before and after. So let me know if that's something you can relate to. But I'm going to go ahead and get started with what I need to do back here. Well, there definitely wasn't as much to do back here as I thought. I ended up grabbing, 8 of the peppers from my 2 pepper plants. I still don't know the variety, but I know based on putting a whole one in my mouth that they are in fact spicy peppers. Then these are the zinnias that I harvested that are good to go in bouquets. So this is the Queen Lime Orange and the Queen Lime Orange and Oklahoma Pink zinnias. And I've been really loving the color combinations of these. I did not do any sort of actual planning for colors together. I just picked what I liked. But I'm really liking the orange and pink combo there. Then I have just the greens of the flowers that were kind of too far gone to use in vases, and then the flowers of the flower. So what I'm going to do with just kind of all the plant matter is scoop it up and toss it in the composter. Composting seems to be going fine so far. I think from what I read, if you keep adding stuff, it doesn't start to cook until you're finished adding everything. So I can't really tell yet, because I'm still adding things, if it's actually composting yet or not. One thing I've noticed is that I think I need to add water more frequently than I thought at first. So I've been adding moisture to it more often. But other than that, I mean, it's a good place to put all of my garden scraps. I also wanted to add too, in case either you're from Chicago or see if there's something similar where you live. But if you have garden waste, you can collect it all, or yard waste, collect it all in a trash bag, and then you can put in a request at 311. So either call, which I'm not the type of person who usually calls, so I use the 311 app, and you can schedule a yard/garden waste pickup. So that's what I do with all my garden waste. The city then takes it to be composted. So that's really nice. So look up to see if you have that in your area, if you're not in Chicago. If you are in Chicago, it's just 311. And I think, I'm trying to remember, it's not soil or rocks, but basically any sort of green garden waste. So I'll link below the page with more information on what you can and cannot include. But that's kind of a lifesaver too, because I know that my composter is not that large, so it'll probably get full pretty quickly, and when I take down most of the plants for the year, I'm not going to be able to fit them in the composter. So it's good that the city offers that. Now I'm going to head back to the front garden and continue on my work. So change of plans, because I went out to the front garden and it is pollinator o'clock out there right now. So they are on basically every flower. I'm going to give them a couple hours for the pollinators to start kind of leaving for the day after their shifts are done. And then I will go ahead and deadhead and clean up all the flowers that I was planning to over there. What I figured I would do now is just show you some of the things that I harvested both yesterday and today. I think I talked a little bit about it last night, but give you just some more details on a few of the fruit and veg that I have. So here is what I've gathered. Now, first of all, these tiny eggplants I absolutely love. So this is probably the largest one I've harvested. I just harvest them when they get this deep purple color. And you can see in my hand how big it is. So, you know, a little bit smaller than the palm of my hand. And again, this is the largest one. I did not know I was growing tiny little eggplants because, well, I mean, I should have if I had read the label accurately, but the label said patio baby, and I just thought that meant eggplant good for the patio. But it also meant teeny tiny little plant and teeny tiny little eggplants. And I've really been enjoying them because I don't love eggplant enough on its own, but I really like mixing it into sauces and putting it in pasta. So for these little tiny things, I think they're the perfect little bite-sized eggplants. So I've really been enjoying these. So that's what I have there. Nothing really special about these, just regular bell peppers. I have the red and yellow cherry tomatoes that just keep producing every day like crazy. I mentioned these, the hot peppers that I don't know the variety other than just being spicy. And then these, I wanted to talk a little bit about. So these are the Aronia / chokeberries. The berry color is very, very dark blue. They don't taste great. Now, I had a friend who took a bite and said it was the worst thing she ever tasted. To me, it just kind of tastes like a little bit bitter, kind of like dirt, which is where the name chokeberry, and they have now tried to change it to Aronia berry, came from. So the reason I even have an Aronia berry bush in my garden is a kind of long story I'll try to make short. But basically there is a bed and breakfast in Oglesby, Illinois, which is where Starved Rock is, which is a beautiful place to hike if you're anywhere near Illinois. It's just about 2 hours outside of Chicago. And my husband and I happened upon this bed and breakfast the very first time we stayed there, and we've been going and staying there ever since. And we've even gone multiple times in a year. So it's been about 7 years, but we went multiple times, so more than 7 times total, and just fell in love with the bed and breakfast and the owners of it. They have a giant Aronia berry patch, and that was the first time I'd ever heard of Aronia berries. In fact, their Wi-Fi password was Aronia berry and then some numbers after it. And they sold Aronia berry jam, so I had some of that. The jam itself tastes good, probably because there's a ton of sugar in it, but they told us that Aronia berries are supposedly one of the highest in antioxidants of any berry or any fruit. So apparently they're really good for you, even though they don't taste great. I have one right here, which, yeah, it just kind of tastes like sour dirt, if that makes sense. I don't think it's bad at all, but what I do is I just pop them in smoothies because I don't think the plant made enough this year. I think it made maybe about 7 or 8 of these little bundles, and I'm pretty sure I took all the bundles off of it now. So not enough to really make some jam, but they've been fine in the smoothies. Now, one of the last times we were at the bed and breakfast, they were actually selling small Aronia berry bushes for $5, and if there's a plant for $5, I will buy it no matter what it is. So I went ahead and got one of those, and I planted it in the garden last year. So this is the first year I've harvested any berries off of it, and I'm really glad that I bought it because we found out that the bed and breakfast sold. I think we found out earlier this year, and we're very sad about it because there's just so many memories tied to it. Each room even had like a little journal that you would write about your stay and date it, and we'd go back and read our old entries. So there were just a lot of memories for us in there, and they sold it. I think it's still going to be a bed and breakfast. It was called Brightwood Inn. I don't know what it's going to be called now, but I'm really hoping that they reopen soon and we can stay there again, even if it might be a little bit different, but we just really loved it. So anyway, so all that to say, that is why I have an Aronia berry bush that I harvested the berries from. So hopefully not too long of a story. We're back out front now. Most of the pollinators, I think, have left the garden. So now I need to fertilize my petunias. So I'm going to fertilize these here, those back here, and then also all of these here too. Morning Glory is a bit more under control now. I really have loved growing it. I think I'm definitely going to grow it again next year. The only thing is this one hasn't bloomed yet. I have a few on the back deck that have bloomed. For some reason, this one that I've been waiting for forever has not yet. So we'll see if that does. For the fertilizer, I just use anything that's bloom boosting. So I like Tiger Bloom from Fox Farm. I like, I think is it called Bloom? Big Bloom? Something Bloom from the brand Jack's as well. I just get both of those on Amazon. They worked really well for me, and that's what I use on all of my flowering annuals. Now I think I'm just gonna continue picking and deadheading flowers, and I think that'll be it for today, even though there's definitely more that I could be doing out here. All right, I think I have picked as many flowers as I'm gonna pick for today. So I have here, I switched out from this bucket because it's just too wide and shallow to actually work for flowers. I haven't actually picked up any of my garden waste yet. I will do that in a little bit. These are the flowers that were deadheaded and not pretty enough to be used in vases, although altogether still does look really pretty. Then I have 3 jars of flowers. Now these aren't in actual like how I would form them into bouquets, but I just needed some water containers for these. If you know the best, I don't know if there's anything better than jars for like flowers with short stems, let me know, but this is what I'm using. I actually do kind of like how this one turned out though, so I might just leave that and put that on my nightstand, but I just have a bunch of zinnias and asters here. Then down on the chair, I just have a handful of gomphrena and straw flowers to dry as well. So I think that's a pretty good, you know, flower harvest for a balcony garden. So I think that's going to be everything for today. Well, yesterday and today. It definitely feels good getting those tasks done, but then as soon as you get some done, there's more to do. I mean, I even know I could pick more from the sun-raised bed, but I will do that at another time. But everything that was kind of on my like top of my to-do list has been done, and that always feels nice. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. I'll also do a quick just like sweep of the garden so you can see what it looks like now. Pretty much the same from before I did anything. So here's what the garden looks like right now at dusk.